I now reconvene the regular council meeting for Monday, January 26, 2026. Before we get underway, we'd like to acknowledge that this council meeting is being held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. We would also like to welcome members of the gallery and anybody who may be viewing online or remotely. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular council meeting of Monday, January 26, 2026? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bassett. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion to adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting Monday, January 12th, 2026? Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Bassett. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Now we're moving to delegations. We have one delegation this evening. We have Sergeant Barry Graham from the Cranbrook RCMP to present the RCMP's fourth quarter and 2025 annual report to council. The floor is yours. We have Amanda with Barry. Welcome, Amanda and Barry.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, staff members, and members of the general public. Thanks for the opportunity to present our fourth quarter report. I'll scan through and not give all the details, but in December we had a significant firearm seizure that resulted from a suspicious vehicle complaint, and basically we were able to arrest a repeat violent offender who was in possession of brass knuckles, loaded firearm, unregistered loaded firearm, and what we believe to be a lot of drugs for trafficking purposes. Just underlies the value of calling every suspicious person vehicle complaint in. Provincial prisoners, responsibility for housing of provincial prisoners has shifted away from detachments to BC Sheriff Services. We still have significant input in that, but it's transitioned a lot to our provincial partners. Other detachment news, the business block watch was started in collaboration with Chamber of Commerce and Canadian Rockies Landscape. It's the first business block watch pilot program for Cranbrook and being piloted in the industrial road area, but will be expanded to other areas in 2026. The partnership is between the Chamber and Cranbrook RCMP, but it empowers business owners and staff with the tools, knowledge, and support needed to create a safer, more connected commercial environment. So for human resources, over the quarter, 1 member on parental leave, 3 on long-term medical leave, 2 unrestricted duties, and no hard vacancies. We did have 1 incoming cadet constable, and currently we're overstaffed by 1 municipal regular member position and 1 provincial position as those members wait to sell their houses, so we'll take advantage of the extra hours for now. The crime reduction initiatives, we're seeing significant gains in all of our community engagement. Business engagement, 40, school visits, 101, school presentations, 11, proactive patrols in school zones over the quarter, 47, community events, 2, volunteer hours, which is significant, 78, crime prevention presentations, 2, and crime prevention through environmental design assessments, 5. Community engagement. So Halloween, we participated in the Downtown Business Association's trick-or-treating event. We saw a record number of trick-or-treaters stop by, and thanks to the assistance of 5 wonderful Cranbrook RCMP volunteers, the detachment gave out 800 candies and, more importantly, 100 donuts. At the event, we also launched the Be Safe, Be Seen education initiative, where children were given reflective keychains and a poem about safe behavior while trick-or-treating along with the candy. And on Halloween night, our newest recruit, Constable Brotherton, patrolled the community to help keep trick-or-treaters safe while handing out the candy. He adjusted his shift to look after that. Project 529 registration events. We saw free Project 529 events at Laurie and Parkland Middle Schools, Mount Baker Secondary, Rotary Park, and Wild Horse Youth Cycling Club. 591 bikes were registered, and 200 of the 529 shields over 2025. We also had community engagement at the Bucks game in partnership with Indigenous Police Section. The community policing team attended a game in November to engage the community and share information about our volunteer programs and crime prevention tips. And spectators were invited to join our Spot the Surge to enter the raffle for an RCMP gift basket. And we thank the community members who attended and engaged with our community policing team. And further community engagement, the Cram the Cruiser and Salvation Army Kettlebell initiatives. So in partnership with the Food Bank, Cranbrook Food Bank, Real Canadian Superstore, and our Indigenous Policing Services, the community policing team participated in the Cram the Cruiser event, annual event. And together, over 1,152 pounds of food and $269.80 in cash donations were received, all of which go to the food bank to support the local community. And our community policing team also volunteered their time to collect donations for the Salvation Army's Christmas Kettle campaign. The elementary schools, local elementary schools, were invited to participate in our Christmas card contest. And for our 2025 official holiday card, we received many excellent cards, and it was difficult to select just 3. So we'd like to congratulate Lorenzo, Eberly, and Lily, who were selected as the contest winners, and each youth received a prize of an RCMP gift basket and an RCMP Cranbrook Detachment Challenge coin. For proactive policing, in October, November, December, our members, with the assistance of BC Highway Patrol, conducted a number of proactive patrols, coordinated check stops and traffic stops. The initiatives were focused on curbing dangerous driving behaviors such as speeding and distracted driving. Those road safety initiatives resulted in 20 warnings, 15 violation tickets, 87 mandatory alcohol screenings, 1 24-hour driving suspension, 22 impaired drivers removed from our roads, and 1 arrest of a prohibited driver. For proactive policing, we had 35 joint community patrols with the City of Cranbrook bylaws, 20 curfew checks done, 288 proactive patrols conducted in hotspot areas such as Downtown Core, Industrial Road, Memorial Arena, Shelter, as well as other areas identified through reports to police and crime trends. So to our metrics, 2003 reports over the quarter, which compared to the same quarter in 2004, down almost 400. Our calls for service increased compared to same period last year. Reports to police, as they generally do, decline throughout peak summer through to December. Prisoner count was down compared to the quarter last year from 169 down to 132. We did see a significant drop in reports submitted to Crown Council, down from 117 the quarter last year to 54, and reports that were approved down from 128 of the quarter in 2024 down to 31. Mental health calls for service, unfortunately, going up from the same period last year, down from summer, but up from the 125 last year. And hours waiting at the hospital, we've seen an increase there. Traffic tickets, reduction. Traffic warnings, up slightly. And the impaired provincial roadside prohibitions from the same quarter last year, up from 6 to 22. And overdoses down from 7 in the quarter in 2024 to 1. And without going line by line, there were some significant changes. Theft from vehicle dropped 37 versus the previous year. Fraud's gone up significantly. Motor vehicle accidents, injury accidents had gone down by 12, and the motor vehicle accidents that were determined to be impaired driving up from 0 the same period last year to 8 this year. And for the annual review, so overall for 2025, 8,651 reports to police. Again, this is just in the municipality. It's a 2.5% increase from 2024. 523 prisoners held, 169 joint community patrols with bylaws. That's a 60% increase from 2024. For traffic initiatives, 56 violation tickets issued, 65 traffic warnings issued, 129 provincial roadside prohibitions with vehicles impounded. Proactive policing, 618 proactive patrols, 115 curfew checks. We had 12 community events under community engagement, 591 bikes registered under Project 529, and 4 new crime reduction initiatives, 529, Make Your Mark, Block Watch, and Fetch Your Property. And overall, for the 3-year trends, total motor vehicle accidents seems to be going up. Theft of vehicles continues to increase. We've seen a decrease in break and enter residential, and an increase in the break and enters to our commercial properties. That is the report.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Barry, one of the things I noticed in the report was the increase in traffic accidents. I'm just wondering if are you seeing any trends that's leading to this?
It's a good question. It's hard to determine. Like, some things are seasonal based on weather. We know the trends are with distracted driving. It's a contributor to a lot of collisions. But outside of that, nothing that I know of trend-wise.
Councillor Bissett.
Thank you. You mentioned about Project 529 going to the schools. How could members of the public access this? Do they have to go to the police station? What's the procedure?
Yes, Amanda can speak to that, but yeah, they can book an appointment to come to the police station, and we don't have a set time as such, but if they call, we will make that arrangement to deal with it.
Okay, so if you want to register your bike, you need to phone ahead and book an appointment?
Yes.
You can't just show up with your bike?
Amanda.
Councillor Blissett, through the mayor, you can certainly call ahead so we can ensure that there's a staff member available to help them register. If the community members would like to register the bike themselves through Project 529 and then bring the bike in, if we have shields available, we will give them a shield for free. And then we also schedule community events and put those out on our Facebook page. So we'll be holding a number of community events in the spring, but in the meantime, the public is welcome to come to the detachment anytime.
Okay, so they can keep their eye on your Facebook page then. Okay.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to touch base quickly on the watch clerks. So, I think it's really positive that City Council was able to support a watch clerk for each shift, right? And then we've talked in the past about the new body-worn cameras and the workload related to that around transcription and those kinds of things. And so I understand that's currently taking up a lot of our watch clerk time, which was not our original intention, right? Because our intention was to have folks who could do the admin work so we could really maximize the police time with their police specific skills that do not involve word processing or those kind of things. So I was just wondering, are there any strategies that mayor and council can do to really let the RCMP know, like, we are funding those watch clerks. We did not fund them to support the body camera program. We funded them for our purposes to maximize our members' time in our community. So I think we're subsidizing the body cam project. So would it be helpful for mayor and council to write a letter to reiterate our position on that, or are there other things we could do?
Thank you. That's a great question. Fortunately, the municipality has raised the awareness and led the charge for the extra provincial funding, like the C-STEP funding, which has helped us with some of our transcription needs. We can outsource some of that where we don't have the salary dollars to do it in-house. Mm-hmm. We have been working to move that out to somebody else and have the province pay for it. So continued support for those initiatives. The 327,000 that we were granted wasn't all administration. It was mostly like a regular member, but to keep lobbying for those funds certainly help us. And we are working, the relevancy has been one of the key issues, working closely with Crown Council on that. And there was significant backlog based on the volume of things that we were submitting that once we submit it, we have to finish it, we have to transcribe it, do all the things after. So we're starting to see that pool of tasks, overwhelming tasks, drop off, and optimistic that we can start. We may not get them back to the full attention that we had prior to body-worn camera, but a significant shift back to the frontline general duty support. But we appreciate the lobbying for it, and yeah, we can discuss maybe a memo as well to increase the administrative portions of those funding options.
That sounds
Thank
great.
you.
And then just one other quick item. So again, great job on the RCMP Facebook page. It's such a great communication tool. I was really glad to see the announcement about the safe marketplace site for folks who are buying and selling online right in front of the detachments. So I think that's brilliant. So thank you very much for setting that up. Councillor Stetsky and myself were recently at a meeting with a number of arts groups in our community, and Cranbrook Community Theatre, Key City Theatre, Cranbrook History Center all identified that ticket fraud is a big and growing issue, and that there's amazingly sophisticated, fake websites and stuff that are affecting these local arts organizations. So just for you to take away for consideration, if there's an opportunity for the RCMP Facebook page to do a post, just again reiterating what our local arts groups are saying as well, buy your tickets from the local organization. Don't be fooled into paying US dollars. So anyways, just a suggestion for your list of items for the RCMP Facebook page.
Thank you, will do.
Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. 4 quick things, and fraud being one of them. And again, do you put stuff out on Facebook page in terms of what the latest and greatest frauds are? And I'll just give you a quick example. I had a friend whose husband died just a few weeks ago, and within a week she received an email from some company claiming that he had a computer program safety contract with them. Fortunately, she stopped before the money actually got sent, but she went fair ways down that road before realizing it was a fraud. So there's so many out there right now, and so do you try and keep on top of that and get that information out on your Facebook site?
Thank you. Yeah, we do, as that come to our attention. The Anti-Fraud Center, I believe, keeps up to date with some of these trends, but it's alarming when they hit here. Like when you think that, these are predators, they're finding like obituaries and reaching out to people, and the fact that like our local theater is being targeted for these things that you think are only a Ticketmaster thing in some large center. So the more information we get when we learn about it, then definitely we'll get it out there, because if we can prevent that happening to somebody else, for sure. But thank you.
Just to follow up on Key City Theatre, I guess it looks almost identical to their site, and they said that it's a fraud when they ask you for payment in US dollars at the end of it. It's coming out of either New York or LA, but very sophisticated.
And that's a good point to reinforce in the messaging, that when it takes you to yen or US dollars or Korean won, that may not be Cranbrook.
Referrals to Crown were down. Reason for that?
No real reason. We're, 14 months into the body-worn camera initiative now, and that did create some issues when it comes to actual submissions. There is still somewhat of a backlog. There's no real explanation for the volume of the drop-off, other than it's just, some of these ones, they require a resolution. They require like an in-depth investigation to make it to report to Crown Council, and not, it's been challenging trying to prioritize some of these firearms calls we're receiving, the drug calls that we're going to, and just the general volume of calls. It requires somebody being able to just sit down finish the investigation, submit it. So I anticipate there's probably a lot of these that are still in members' queues to submit. I think at one point a while back, I had run our follow-ups, and there was something like 400 like outstanding ones. That's not just the ones that are like it's this week. It's a number that's hard to stay on top of when, you know, you get for every one file you can successfully resolve and get to submission, there's two more comes in this place. So it's challenge for our members to stay on top of these, and sometimes they get so old that we can't really get a successful resolution to them, but they're trying, and as many hours as we can devote to it, and hopefully calls drop off a bit and they can start catching up on some of these. But that's the only thing I can honestly think of, is that they're just waiting somebody to have the time to focus on it.
Citizen came to me the other day saying that many nights between about 9:30 and 11:30, there's cars racing up and down the Tamarack Mall parking lot. Noisy cars, easy to hear from quite a ways away. I asked her whether anybody had phoned the police when it was happening, and she said no. If you have come across that, phoning the police so they can do something now, of course, is the key.
Thank you, and definitely it's the report in progress. And if people know license plates, they know the people involved and stuff, we definitely can follow up after the fact if we don't find the person. But ironically, we were talking to one of our traffic oriented members today who's coming up with a new hotspot type initiative for tracking all of our patrols and having one, because it is, we do, I spent part of my morning dealing with one traffic hotspot outside the municipality, and it's hard to stay on top of, okay, what are the most important places to go right now? We've had like 10 of these calls over the course of the week, so we're going to start prioritizing them, putting them onto the onboard computer so that it's easy access. Okay, I'm going to check here, check there, easy reporting. So we are going to try and make that a little more efficient and streamlined, but calling is most important.
Yeah, they have to call. Lastly, we really appreciate the work that you and your members do, as you know. When you sort of sit back and look at trends, are there any trends, either positive or negative, that you're kind of keeping an eye on in Cranbrook?
For crime trends, not really. We've seen these fluctuations. There's some that are, the property crime ones are still trending in the wrong direction. The trends administratively seem to be more typing. We are, following what we're allowed to for federal government rules, RCMP rules, when it comes to artificial intelligence, and hoping that like we have a summary technology now that will take information that we feed into it, plus information from the files, and create, a start for us that we still are responsible for. Those things we're trying to work with what available technology to keep ahead of these things, but yeah, the frauds are concerning. The impact on your average household is becoming more prevalent, and we're trying to work on those. But yeah.
Probably do that. Thanks, Barry. Amanda, anything I was going to ask was covered off by council already. Barry, please pass on to your members, as Councillor Stetsky mentioned there, how much you're appreciated in the community. It's pretty thankless out there some days, that what they have to endure. But certainly their dedication and commitment is very, very highly respected and appreciated by council. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to move into bylaws. First bylaw for consideration tonight are from Engineering and Development Service Department regarding official community plan amendment bylaw number 4201/2025 and zoning amendment bylaw number 4202/2025 for property at 950 Wellstone Drive. Can I please have staff provide a brief overview of the report and the bylaws, which are back before council tonight for amendment and adoption? Rob?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm here on Connor's behalf. He's got nicer hair. It's all good. So what we're presenting to you tonight for council's consideration is to make an amendment to the proposed bylaws 4201 and 4202 prior to adoption, which is in line with a provision from the Local Government Act, Section 470, which states that after a public hearing, the council or board may, without further notice or hearing, adopt or defeat a bylaw, alter and then adopt the bylaw, provided the alteration does not do any of the following, and that being alter the use, increase the density, or without the owner's consent, decrease the density. The reason the proposed amendment is being brought forward for council's consideration is that on January 8th of this year, we received notification from the applicants of what would be kind of Lot A, what we considered, so bylaws 4190 and 4191, the lands that we were under application to change the land use designation from urban holdings to the commercial hotel retail designation. So we called that, I guess we were calling it the Wildstone commercial lands. So the applicants have withdrawn that application, so they will not be moving forward with proceeding to have those bylaws considered by council for adoption. And as a result of that, the issue that we encountered was that application was first. The application for bylaws 4201 and 4202 came next. They shared the same map with the amendment for 4201 and 2, including, which was the density provision, which is the application under consideration. And so because they shared the same map, because they were running concurrently, we had to make sure that the maps all jived if they were all being adopted. But with the withdrawal of the application, the amendment is being proposed to go back to what would be the original map from the OCP, just with the amendment to reflect the application by Crown Pacific. So basically, in effect, council wouldn't inadvertently adopt a map in the OCP that reflects the hotel commercial designation, which hasn't actually been approved through its process. And so just to like put a kind of a firm stamp on it, the proposed amendment, it does not impact or change the use, density, development standards, policies, or regulations, or deviate from the original application by Crown Pacific. And the amendment is permitted by the Local Government Act, and it's the primary driver behind that was the withdrawal of the application for the Wildstone North lands, commercial lands. And so the resolution being presented for council is to amend the bylaw to replace the Appendix 1, and that can be seen in the attached memo, which shows you going back to the original urban holdings for the North lands, and then consideration of adoption.
Can I get a motion that council amend City of Cranbrook official community plan, our path to Cranbrook 2042 amendment bylaw number 4201 2025 by replacing Appendix 1 to bylaw 4201 2025. Mover, please. Councillor Bassett, Councillor Ray, discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
And just so I'm clear, so approving this does not at the same time approve the doubling of the density? It would.
Yeah. Approving this amendment and subsequent adoption will change the density, which is the focus of the application by Crown Pacific. The amendment is required because we don't want to inadvertently change the designation of the urban holdings to the commercial lands, which were part of the previous application. They shared the same maps that would have been in the OCP. So nothing is being changed with respect to the current application under consideration by council.
So I have a number of resolutions to read connected to this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to decide if this is the appropriate time to speak to the density question or whether it's further down in 2, 3, or 4.
From a procedural perspective, this is consideration of an amendment and adoption of the bylaw. Nothing's changing with respect to the density. It's exactly the same as what was considered through all the readings, the public hearing, the engagement.
Okay, so I would like to take a minute.
Pardon me?
I would like to take a minute then to speak to the.
Certainly.
Okay, so I went back and looked through all of the information that has been provided. And I just wanted to summarize what we've seen so far in terms of public input particularly the question of increasing density from 126 to 252 units. So there were 3 petitions. First one signed by 24 people, the second one 64, and the third one 91. There was a letter signed by 58 Boulder Creek residents. There were 73 individual letters and only one in favor. That was the golf course saying that they thought it might be good to have more room for staff, although I kind of wonder whether part-time staff will be able to afford these apartments. There was a public hearing and there were 13 presentations, of which 12 were opposed. One letter of support, and that letter was from the developer. So, you know, I've served the citizens of Cranbrook for 11 years now as mayor, member of parliament, and city councillor. And this is the clearest example I've seen in those 11 years of citizens united about what they want to see and not see happen in their backyards. And when they come forward, again, in this particular example, there's an expectation that the people that are their elected representatives will have their backs and will support what they want to see happen or not happen in their neighborhoods. And so I continue to oppose this. Now, 5 out of the 7, the other thing that's confusing some of the people, of course, that live there is that 5 out of the 7 councillors that voted down the 2021 densification at Wildstone are still on council. So there are 2 new ones, myself and Councillor Ray. And so there's, I know I've had several people say, so why the change? Why the difference between 2021 and today? And I don't have an answer for that. But I do know that, as I said, in my 11 years serving the city, this is the clearest example I've seen of our residents who are solid in their opposition to something happening and quite frankly expecting us to be there with them. So I will continue to oppose the motion.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Bissett.
So I also have served the people of Cranbrook for 11 years. And in my time, almost every multifamily proposal has been opposed by the neighborhood. Now, this neighborhood has a lot of, you know, it's quite organized and quite intact. So yes, there was a number of people that opposed that, and we certainly read those letters and considered that. And as a city, we talked about addressing the concerns about traffic, that we could work with the association there to improve the road system if they wanted to connect to Echofield Road, I think on the other side. Every area has opposed, Councillor Stetsky, that has opposed multifamily. And it's just the numbers there that are slightly different on that, but we've had strong opposition before. And one of the things that has changed is, in my time, I have evolved as a councillor to realize that I'm not just representing 100 people, I'm representing almost 20,000. That's a lot of people. And there's a lot of people who are looking for housing, and a lot of people that are looking for high-end housing, and that they can move out of their homes into a lovely place like Wildstone, where they have the golf lifestyle. They can leave if they want in the wintertime to go golf somewhere else or do whatever. And that is a market that we haven't served. And really offers us a lot of potential here. Plus, it has cascading effects on the rest of our rental housing. So we're not just considering, we are considering the views of the people that live there, but we're also considering the needs of our community. And that has changed over time. And so that's why I voted in favor of it. So, I mean, you have your point of view and I have mine. And that's why we have different people on council. And both points of view are valid. And both are looking after the people, just from different points of view. And it's how many people you're looking after. I'm thinking I'm looking after thousands. And that's why I'm voting in favor.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I certainly appreciate, and I'm sure everyone around the table does, that this kind of change is difficult and it's stressful, particularly when there's been a long period of time due to factors such as COVID and various economic crashes and bankruptcies of developers and whatnot. It's been a long time that a change like this has not occurred and is now potentially occurring. So I totally understand that that is difficult and stressful. And I really appreciate the civic engagement from the folks in the neighborhood. I respect that civic engagement. We're citizens, so I appreciate that people have taken the time to share their viewpoints and their concerns. Further to Councillor Blissette's comments, our fiduciary duty as councillors is to the corporation of the city of Cranbrook. So that is a legal duty and a moral duty. And I take that duty very seriously. And so, although I appreciate having heard the concerns, the larger duty is to the 20,000 plus people in our community, and not only the residents now, but also the residents in the future. So housing is included in our strategic plan. There's a couple of mentions of housing, and so our strategic plan is what guides us. And we have the data that indicates we require housing across the full continuum. So because of that, I will be voting in favor of this motion.
Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Councillor Steskey, I wish I could side with you and also get claps from the chamber, but unfortunately, that's not going to be the case here. I think for me, I'm on the same point of thought as what Councillor Blissett said and Councillor Ray. The need for this development and the need for the high-end rental is greater than what I feel is going to be the change in character to Wildstone. And same as the other councils around the table, like we've read the letters. I understand the concerns about the shares in the road. I understand the concerns of the change in density that this is going to have on in the neighborhood as well. The intersection where you enter Wildstone, that's also a concern and something that the city is going to have to address at some point. But at the same time, we need this type of rental housing. And as Councillor Blissett said, that also frees up the lower price rentals for more people to get into. The example I have of something like this working very well is at the Kimberley Ski Hill. You have a nice mix of high density and rental, but also high-end housing, and it seems to be working very well for that community, and I feel like it could be working for us too. And for those reasons, I'll be voting in favor of this.
Thank you. Certainly from my perspective, just to answer Councillor Stetsky's earlier question about the 2021 vote, I think the reason that it was defeated, certainly I voted against that at that particular time. I was a member of council. It wasn't a density concern to me. It was a height and location of the building. That building was not on the lot that these ones are on. It was further to the south. And we worried about views and whatnot from, from the housing development. So to me, it was height and interfered, with views and whatnot. This proposal is quite different. I don't think it is going to create any issues as far as views and property values. Certainly, I look at the concerns that were brought forward. Council took those concerns very seriously. We have to deal with and make decisions based on the information that's brought to us. Our staff, our planning and engineering have been working on this project for well over a year. The issue seemed to be traffic. That seemed to be the number one issue when it was brought to us. Overall, that was the number one concern. We have our staff, our engineers, who are up to date on current engineering best practices. We have a consultant, an independent consultant that looked at traffic impact, and we were waiting for Ministry of Transport and Transit's report. It just came in recently. That's why we're dealing with this tonight. We were waiting for that. That could have held this thing up and it wouldn't have gone forward. So Mott is even agreeing that the traffic impact will not have a negative impact on there. There are some concerns on site, and people can shrug and do it. These are three levels, three separate and distinct levels of engineering that have been brought to us. That's what we deal with. We deal with facts that are put in front of us. These are facts. Certainly, with the on-site issues, I think it's been very clear that this council and the city is prepared to work with the residents to offset any concerns in there over time as the development grows. I think, quite frankly, that this decision with those facts in place, that council has really looked at due process and due consideration. Looked at this with due process and due consideration. So, and I agree with the other councillors. Things have changed. Cranbrook is changing. We have to look in the best interest of 21,000 people in this community. I'm hearing, and I know it's that group that's immediately affected. And again, we've been through so many of these, and it doesn't matter where it's going. You say even medium density to high density in any neighborhood, they don't want it. There's nobody in the neighborhood, so they don't want it. So, I think we're at a place in time in our community. Certainly, I know a number of seniors who are really looking forward to maybe getting out of their homes and going into a rental situation, but they're not prepared to go into a high density situation where it's basically market rental. Okay? This is above market rental. This is a high-end rentals. They're quite prepared to move into that situation and move forward in the retirement. So I personally see a lot of need for this in the community. So I'm going to be voting in favor of it. Thank you. Back to Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, I won't belabor the point, but the community was fine with 126 of these higher end dwellings being there. The concern is it appropriate to double the density to 252? And clearly they've said no. So they're not against higher end apartments being built in Wildstone. It was the doubling of the density that was the concern.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And certainly our planning manager, Rob Vague, had mentioned that before. The density in that community, you have 1,500 unit density. This is still within the maximum density. You're going to get that type of traffic and that type of movement sooner or later anyways, as it's developed. So it's now or when, really. So, yeah. Further? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried, and Councillor Stetsky is opposed. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council adopt City of Cranbrook Official Community Plan, our Path to Cranbrook 2042 Amendment Bylaw number 4201/2025 is amended? Mover, please. Councillor Blissett, Councillor Peabody, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And Councillor Stetsky is opposed. Can I get a motion that council amend City of Cranbrook zoning amendment bylaw number 4202/2025 by replacing CD1 map 1 Wildstone sub area to bylaw 4202/2025? Mover, Councillor Bissett. Councillor Ray. Discussion. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to touch on it as well, and it is included in the staff report, that the Advisory Planning Commission had a majority vote in favor of these amendments as well. As noted in the report, it was not unanimous, but it was a majority vote in favor with 4 members in support and 1 opposed. So I am one of the councillors appointed to sit on the Advisory Planning Commission. And that's a group of people with knowledge and experience. They ask excellent questions there. Every meeting I'd go to of the APC, I learned something. So to me, it's important to note that the Advisory Planning Commission recommends approval of these amendments.
Excellent point. Thank you for bringing that forward. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Stetsky's opposed. And finally, can I get a motion that council adopt City of Cranbrook zoning amendment bylaw number 4202/2025 as amended? Councillor Ray, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Stetsky is opposed. Thank you very much, guys, for a difficult decision. Moving on, the next bylaw for consideration is also from Engineering Development Services Department regarding cross-connection control bylaw number 4230/2026. This bylaw is back before council tonight for adoption. Can I get a motion that council adopt cross-connection control bylaw number 4230/2026? Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Ray, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Next up, this bylaw is also from Engineering Development Services regarding municipal ticketing system, information system amendment bylaw number 4231/2026. Can I please have staff provide a brief overview of the report and bylaw, which is before council for first, second, and third reading tonight? Curtis? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Price and Council. Bringing forward the Municipal Ticketing Information Systems Amendment Bylaw, really in regards to the cross-connection control bylaw that was just adopted. It sets out the different infractions and fine values for that, and then also included some housekeeping items such as updating because of the Waterworks bylaw amendment that happened last year that wasn't included in a previous MTIS bylaw. And then there was a couple of spelling errors and just added some personnel to a couple of the lists that were missing from bylaws that they're part of quite heavily.
Thanks, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to Municipal Ticketing Information System Amendment bylaw number 4231/2026, please? Councillor Blissett, Councillor Peabody, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to Municipal Ticket Information System Amendment bylaw number 4231/2026? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thanks so much. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to Municipal Ticket Information System Amendment bylaw number 4231/2026? Councillor Bissett. Councillor Ray, discussion. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. So, of course, reading the staff report, we have a nice list in Schedule A of bylaws that correspond to various potential bylaw enforcement. And so one of those items is our deer feeding prohibition bylaw. And just as part of this item, I just wanted to highlight that. I think we have that deer feeding prohibition for a reason. And I'd just like to remind folks in the community to please be mindful of that from a community safety perspective.
Thank you so much. Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Next bylaw for consideration is also from Engineering Development Services Department regarding official community plan amendment bylaw number 4232 2026 for property along 5th Street South. Can I please have staff provide a brief overview of the report and bylaw, which is before council tonight for first reading?
Thank you
Rob?
again, Mayor and Council. So this amendment is being brought forward by staff administration for council's consideration as a follow-up to the letter received by council in July of last year from the Cranbrook Rotary Club expressing interest in city land for development of a seniors housing project, but also in support of implementing the recommendations of the City of Cranbrook's housing strategy, as was mentioned earlier, council strategic priorities for provision of housing, recommendations of the Housing Task Force for provision of land for housing. So the staff and administration saw this as an opportunity to work with city-owned land that we have and work through a subdivision, and then now consideration for council subsequent OCP amendment with a upcoming zoning amendment that would designate part of the city-owned lands for medium density residential development, which is on the schedule. Then those lands would be a lot directly abutting the St. Mary's School, but also formally designating what will be dedicated parkland as part of the subdivision that's taking place, and as part of the dedication that was given to us by the development directly to the north, being I think they call them Creekside now, by St. Mary's School, the condos. And so with this, the proposed subdivision plan will include about 0.4 of a hectare, 0.45 of a hectare of dedicated parkland on both the east side and west side of Joseph Creek, and it encompasses the Rotary Way. So that secures the land in perpetuity for both environmental purposes as park dedication and the restrictions that come with that, but also the Rotary Way Trail. And then the creation of the 0.313 hectare lot, which would be designated for the medium density, which council can then consider a project for, perhaps being the Rotary, as they expressed interest, but also then designating the portions of land that were dedicated by park on plan EPP 143958, which is the parkland to the north, which the city acquired as part of the development, the OCP rezoning and development of the Creekside Townhomes by St. Mary's School. So this is consideration of first reading and authorization for public notification, and then subsequent bylaws will follow for that. But that's, I think, in a nutshell, what's transpiring with this application. So I'm happy to answer questions.
Thanks very much, Rob. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to City of Cranbrook official community plan, our path to Cranbrook 2042 amendment bylaw number 4232 2026, and authorize staff to undertake public consultation on the proposed amendment bylaw? Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Blissett. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky.
So I went out and had a look at the site. I think that's a great spot for that development, and great to see some additional parkland actually protected.
Thank you. Further? Certainly, I think it's a terrific spot for that type of development, and certainly that is the type of development that's gravely needed in our community. It's a lower cost housing. That is something that is a little slow, getting underway in Cranbrook, and I think that certainly fits the need of the community going forward. So thank you very much for your work on this. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thanks, guys. Good report. Final report is from Recreation and Culture Department regarding recreation and culture fees and charges amendment bylaw number 4236, 2026. And can I have staff provide a brief overview of the report and bylaw, which is here tonight for first, second, and third reading?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. December 8th, 2025, Council directed staff to come back with a rental fee bylaw update for exclusive use of the upper concourse at Western Financial Place in consideration for sports teams to have dedicated space and time to run and do other activities that doesn't work well with a current walking plan. So staff took this away, did some research, came back with some numbers, as well took the opportunity to make some small definition changes, as well as a couple other bylaw amendment items. Brought back the daily warm viewing room. And then really the rest of it is more of a definition change, clarification.
Thank you, Trevor. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to Recreation and Culture Fees and Charge Amendment Bylaw number 4236, 2026? Mover, please. Councillor Peabody, Councillor Bassett, discussion. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Trevor, so just in terms of the use of the concourse, so please forgive me, this is a bit of an operational question, but I was just curious how booking will work, because like we had discussion about if you have people running at full speed around the concourse, you probably don't also want people walking at walking speed. So I was just curious how that will work in terms of booking the concourse for those kinds of like more intense activities.
Excellent. Mayor Price through to Councillor Ray. The logistics haven't quite been worked out. We did meet with the running group. We have met with a couple of the other sports clubs that would like to use this. There is the thought that walking would just be closed later in the evening. So maybe walking until say 6 p.m. and then training after 6 p.m. As well as various signage and then other responsibilities to ensure that any of our visitors that are going to watch the hockey ice have a clear path and a clear way of safely getting from the lobby doors to the seating section.
Certainly.
That's great that the logistics are still in progress. I think I recall from maybe that initial letter that it sounded like some of the folks who were doing running training were also potentially thinking about the early morning hours or before, I think like before school kind of hours. So anyhow, I'm sure that'll be part of your discussion as well.
Thank you. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Trevor, the last time this, or like our pool rates came to the table, we had a discussion about like punch passes, monthly passes, and annual passes. And we talked about maybe like creating a different price structure to make it more attractive to the consumers. Just wondering, like, have we looked into this, and are we seeing an increase in sales of like monthly passes or annual passes?
Mayor Price to Councillor Peabody. There has not been a bigger uptake in memberships. After seeing a couple of emails that would be possible questions tonight, did a quick review and research with communities like Fort St. John, Vernon, Fernie, Salmon Arm, and we do have the lowest annual membership price. Some communities are moving away from annual and going to more punch pass or 6 month, but the ones that do offer annual, we are substantially lower than those.
And for like the frequent users of the pool, do you know roughly like how often they're, like, I guess, how often a month they're using the facility?
Mayor Price or Councillor Peabody, I can't say specifically. I do know it goes in cycles. We do have users that will use the pool, multiple times a week.
Yeah.
And then they're gone for a month or 2 or 3.
Okay.
So yeah, the annual pass doesn't work as well, which is why we did bring in the 10 punch and the 20 punch pass. The 20 punch pass is a hot seller right now.
Okay.
But finding a better price point, I'm still not 100% sure that would be beneficial to get more usership in the pool.
Okay. Thank you. So I guess to sum things up, you feel right now that it's priced well for the market that's there.
Mayor Price through Councillor Peabody, doing comparatives, we are priced very well for that particular item, I would say for sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Further? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion to council give second reading to Recreation and Culture Fees and Charges Amendment bylaw number 4236, 2026. Councillor Blissett, Councillor Ray, discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to Recreation and Culture Fees and Charges Amendment bylaw number 4236, 2026. Mover was Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Trevor. I think we'll be talking to you later there. We have one item of new business for consideration tonight from the Recreation and Culture regarding the 2026 FIFA grant application opportunity to host a live viewing party for the World Cup. Can I have Trevor while you're there? Give us an overview of the report, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So FIFA governs 195 countries and operates the FIFA World Cup. This year, Canada, Mexico, and the United States are the host countries of the FIFA World Cup. Canada will host 13 out of the 104 matches in 2 cities, Vancouver and Toronto. So there are 16 host cities. Canada has 2 of them. The FIFA World Cup is a worldwide soccer tournament that in viewership has no competition. It's estimated that in 2022, 5 billion people partook on this, and 1.5 billion people watched the final game. The tournament begins on June 11th and ends on June 19th. Hosting the FIFA World Cup locally is definitely a once-in-a-generation type event. Since 1930, North America has hosted this 4 times. To be clear, today is not an additional budget ask. Today is a request to apply for the grant. It's the province of BC. Sorry, one second here. The province of BC has a 2 granting stream opportunities for FIFA this summer. The request is that the city apply for both grant streams. Stream number 1 is the opportunity to host a viewing party of more than 1,000 people. The granting opportunity is up to $150,000 at a 75% funding rate. The second stream is designed for a viewing party of under 1,000 or a supplementary event, complementary event to another event that the city already hosts, which would have soccer or multicultural involvement. That is a maximum of $50,000 funded at 85%. The grant itself, would be the main source of income for this event. Sponsorship, food and beverage revenue, those kind of things would be the revenue side of the budget, and the expense side of the budget is the event itself. One of the requirements of the event is that it is free to enter. There is another opportunity to go alongside with stream number 1. FIFA Canada has a large supplementary item that will be traveling across Canada. The details of it are still to be worked out. We have been told there's 10 opportunities in BC to host this. The consensus with speaking with tourism locally and other business opportunities that this would be great for us to be the hub host of the Kootenays. If we don't get the larger grant, so stream 1, if council should wish we apply for it, if we are not successful in getting this FIFA Canada opportunity, we wouldn't move forward with the large viewing party. I don't think we would be successful at hosting that here in Cranbrook. If we host, the province of BC allows us to apply for both grants simultaneously. We would only ever be awarded one. So the smaller grant would be something ideally where we could join with like KISA and local nonprofits, the Multicultural Society, and maybe add something to our Canada Day celebration or thereabouts. Yeah, the likelihood if we do get this large FIFA Canada opportunity, I believe we would see something similar in turnout to like a large Blitzville or even a Hockeyville type event where we have multi-thousands of residents coming together to enjoy soccer, to enjoy multiculturalism, to enjoy these kind of things.
Thank you, Trevor. So, council, we have, I guess, 3 options really. If we're not in favor, there could be an option. If we approve of it, then we have 2 options. Would somebody like to propose an option, please? Councillor Ray, seconder, Councillor.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I apologize.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would like to move that council approve option 1 and option 2. So that's what I would like to put on the table.
Okay.
So that to me means applying for both grants.
My apologies. And the seconder on that. Councillor Peabody. Discussion. We'll start with Councillor Blissett, then go to Councillor Ray, and then Councillor Stetsky.
Okay, so when I read this, it says to approve a budget expense of $50,000. So so this is not already in our budget. This is in addition to our budget. So we would be approving an additional up to $50,000 contingent on getting the rest of the grant money. But the city would be on the hook for the $50,000, but not more than the $50,000, possibly less. I don't know.
Yeah, Mayor Price through to Councillor Blissett. Any overage would be funded from the already approved local events budget, which currently sits at $55,000. But we do Canada Day out of that budget as well. The intent would be that before this comes to fruition is we've got the budget completed so that if there was an overage, it would be in a very minimal sense. So there would not be an additional ask.
Because we just went, like, just days ago, we finished doing our budgeting. And so this wasn't included in that. So this would be an addition. So we're going to raise taxes more to do this?
So Mayor Price through to Councillor Blissett. So the way that works is that this 50,000 additional expenditure. So if we use city budget for this, there would be no requirement for this motion, but the intent being it's 50,000 more being spent out of that budget than what council has approved through the budget process. However, that extra 50,000 expenditure would only occur if we get the $50,000 grant money.
So how do we pay for it? We're not taxing for it right now.
That's correct. And I guess I understand your concern about the wording. I mean, we could have taken an approach about that council approve the application for the 50,000, and then we could deal with the budget matter later. That's another way we could do that if that's a concern. Like, but we do need council's approval to which stream we're applying for, and then the way it's worded now, the issue is that council has approved a set budget and that this is a $50,000 above that. And the only way that we're expending that is if we get the grant. So it's the wording in the resolution that, you know, if there's a big concern and we just want to dial it back to council approve the city applying for the $50,000 grant or applying for the $150,000 grant. And then we can deal with, if we get it, the change in the budget to add that $50,000 grant money at a later date as well. We could do it that way too.
But we're still fine, so we're changing something that we've already decided to pay for and taking that 50,000 from there because we can't raise taxes again. And I was just reflecting on how long it took us to approve, what, $32,000 for the library. And now we're just throwing in $50,000 and we'll figure out where the money comes from. I'm not happy. That's how I'm looking at it. Maybe it's incorrect.
Well, the way that it's worded, sorry, Councillor Blissett through the mayor, is subject to the grant being approved. But I certainly understand council's concern that the way it is structured now, we're already changing the budget prior to getting the grant. So what we could do is simply modify the resolution to seek approval to apply for the grant money, either case, option A or B, or both. And then we'll come back later if we get the grant for the budget adjustment to say, we've received $50,000. We need the budget adjustment to increase the expenditure out of this account by the 50,000 represented by the additional money we brought in with the grant. So something like that. We could do it a two-step process as well. So, you know, what you raised is a point. Thank you.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. So I agree with the discussion. I think there's just in terms of wording, it's a bit confusing about what we actually mean in terms of budget. So just to make sure I'm on the right track, my understanding is that at the end of the day, if we were successful with these grants, it'd be a net zero change for the city because it'd be $50,000 designated for this event in our budget with a matching $50,000 grant. Is that correct?
Yeah, Councillor Ray, that is correct. That's absolutely correct. It's just one step. It's kind of doing both steps simultaneously with the subject to wording rather than taking step one first, step two second.
So it's an important clarification. So that I think that's really important to be really clear that it's a net zero change for the city. So I still have the floor. I'll give the floor in a minute. So as the mover, I would happily make an amendment. I think let's just simplify this a little bit. I know sometimes it gets tricky when we have multiple things in a motion and then it's hard to know exactly, right, what are we voting on and what do I agree with or not. So I'd be happy to suggest that we remove the approve a budget expense from both 1 and 2 and that we just seek council approval to apply for these grants. And I'll seek confirmation from Trevor on this as well. Trevor, I did a quick Google of this grant program, and it's my understanding that only local governments and First Nations governments can apply for this grant. So based on my Googling, it's not something that nonprofits can apply for. So we're in a unique position. So thank you for giving me the nod on that. So yeah, I think we're just in a unique position to bring a really cool event to our community at like a net zero change, right? Cost-wise to the city. So we're not looking at increasing taxes or anything like that. But yeah, similar, like Hockeyville was amazing. Obviously, this is not a contest. It's different than Hockeyville, but I feel like the outcome for the community celebration could be similar. And I know not everybody's into this, but for those of us who are big fans of Wrexham and have watched that series religiously and now track how the Wrexham football team is doing in Wales, or if you've watched Ted Lasso, like there's a lot of potential for a really cool community event out of this. And hey, we may apply for the grant and not be successful, and that's totally fine. But if we are, it's just another way that we can really promote vibrancy in our community and show that, you know, we're a small city We're not a small town anymore. We're a small city that has very cool events. So I think there's a lot of potential for this. So anyways, I would propose, if my seconder would agree, to remove the approve a budget expense phrases from each of the motions 1 and 2.
Is the seconder willing to agree to that? Very much. Right, yes. So the seconder has agreed to change that motion. I have Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Peabody, and I'll get back to Councillor Bassett.
So a couple of things. I think I can probably support a request if it's to just go for the grant. The way the two things bother me, well, two additional things bother me about the proposal we had on the table. One is there's still an extra cost to the city included potentially. A grant may cover 85% or the grant may cover 75%. So from my perspective, I guess we can deal with that later. We can apply for the grants, but I don't think I would vote in favor of adding any city money onto the grants in the end. The other thing, it says with local soccer clubs and the Multicultural Association, I'm a director with the Cranbrook Multicultural Society, and I'm not sure if that's who you're referring to, but we've heard nothing about this proposal at our board meeting.
How long has that proposal been out? Maybe it's fairly new. I've heard of it as well, so maybe the other groups haven't, the multicultural groups haven't heard about it.
Mayor Price, so this is initially came out in the fall, and there was almost no uptake by any local government. It was revisited again in January, and the due date for the application is February 6th.
Oh.
So it's moving hot and heavy. I actually have a meeting on Wednesday with FIFA Canada just to talk more about the opportunity. It's more right now about securing the ability to apply for the grant and then moving forward with either decision. So involving the multicultural and KISA and whatnot will be hand in hand. It was just a race to get this in front of council so that we can apply for the February 6th deadline.
Well, thank you, Trevor. Councillor Peabody. Oh, sorry, Councillor Stetsky, further?
No, just at the end, I'd like the motion read
Yeah, we will.
out again.
Yeah, certainly. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Trevor, I think you mentioned when you're talking about this event that there's also room for sponsorship as well as profit sharing with food and drinks. Is that correct?
Mayor Price to Councillor Peabody, that is correct.
Okay, and just rough guesstimate, if we have a couple thousand people attending this event or something similar to what Blitzville was, do you have a rough number of what that could possibly be?
Mayor Price to Councillor Peabody. So the estimate is 6 to 8 hours of this event. So if you have 2,000 people there at $10 a head, that's $20,000. So I think that's a very conservative estimate. So
okay,
yeah.
So part of the expense for this event can also be subsidized by sponsorship and then profit sharing in the food and drink. And even at, if this event costs $150,000 and the grant stream could cover 75% of that, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, so that's what, $37,500. I don't think that's an astronomical amount, especially if you start selling drinks and selling food and looking at community sponsorship. I'm sure for an event this size and this magnitude, trying to get $37,000 in community sponsors won't be that challenging. And I think it's important to, for the city to do, I would say, safe events like this. Ones where there's not a huge cost to the taxpayer, where there's not a lot of financial risk, but prevents something fun and exciting for the community. So I'm in favor of this.
Thank you. Back to Councillor Bassett.
So I'm not really clear on the amendment because it says the grant stream will only provide up to 85% of eligible expenses, or the other one up to 75%. So if we get the grant, we have to add money to it. I think, by what I'm reading.
Mayor Price through to Councillor Bissett. So I did a quick sample budget in there with some, there's obviously calculation issues, but the estimate is $100,000 to do this caravan event with FIFA Canada. And if the grant is covering 75%, that's $75,000.
Yeah. So we owe 25.
Yeah, and so we've already got $7,500 from tourism coming in. And then the estimate of $5,000 from sponsorship and $5,000 from food and beverage,
Okay.
puts us at less than a $10,000 loss per se,
Okay.
which would come out of the local events budget, which is already approved for the year.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you for the clarification.
Good.
I think
What-
CAO Furcho wants to add in.
I was just gonna ask Marnie to read, we've modified the resolution here, if she could
Yep.
just read what we got.
Yes, if you could please read it, Marnie.
You bet. So that council approve staff applying for the 2026 Community Event Support Provincial Grant Program for community events with a grant request of up to $50,000, and that council approves staff applying for the 2026 Community Event Support Provincial Grant Program for a public live match viewing with a grant request of up to $150,000.
Thank you very much. So really, this is just to approve a grant. We do it every day, certainly in most of our capital projects. Sometimes we get a grant and, we don't carry through with the project. So, I mean, that comes at a later date. So basically, we're here just to approve funding. Okay? Anything further, council? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thanks, Trevor, for the explanations. And we're now moving into administrative updates. And we have Jason on hand tonight from Public Works regarding city reservoirs, snowpack, potential flooding. Floor is yours. All the good news.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yeah, I just wanted to provide just an administrative update on our current conditions. So for our reservoirs right now, so we have the Gold Creek plus the Phillips Reservoir. Both reservoirs are spilling right now. So at the beginning, or the end of summer, beginning of fall, we were looking at about a -5 feet in the Phillips Reservoir. And so we've been able to gain all that back this winter, and we're fully spilling. So we are anticipating the 2026 irrigation season that will start in stage 1 water regulations, which is our regular annual regulation. For the snowpack, the province, they just recently released their first report for 2026, and the average snowpack in the East Kootenay is 124% of normal as of January 1st. So if we look back last year of January 2025, we were only at about 92% of normal. So we're seeing a 32-point increase compared to 2025. And we're also seeing that locally at the Moyer Mountain weather station, where we're at 114%. So we're in that 80 percentile of the historical record, as you can see in the trend there. So with that, of course, with increased snowpack, there's a potential for flooding in the spring, but we are not anticipating any major flooding events this year. But just to let council know that we will have sandbags available, ready to deploy to any areas that would be affected. And we'll also have our manual self-serve sandbag station that we have at Public Works every year. So that is it for me. Any questions?
Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. One of the questions that I often get asked is why not go right to stage 2 and save water so that we don't have to perhaps get more serious later on in the summer. Now, we don't have to make that decision tonight, but I think it's worth considering.
Mayor Price to Councillor Stetsky. Yeah, I think there might be some people that would like that. I think the overall that we get, the the messaging or the inquiries that we get. Kind of say the opposite. When we're spilling and we have a lot of flow coming down, we would like to the opportunity for those residents that like the green grass to have that. Of course, we always monitor the creeks and the reservoir levels daily and weekly. So if we find that we are not keeping up to the consumption, the bylaw and the policies, does give us the ability to initiate those stage 2 quite early.
Further, council? Jason, quick question. It's just as far as flooding. We've only had really over the years, a couple of areas that were prone to flooding in Cranbrook. We're very, very fortunate that that's not a huge risk in the community, but we did some remedial work down on around 15th Avenue and 1st Street there. Has that basically eliminated that risk to those properties in that immediate area?
Mayor Price, I believe we did that around 2016, 2017, and I would say it has significantly reduced the flooding issues in that area. I don't think we've even had an issue in that area since that time.
Okay, thank you. Further, council? Good. Thanks very much, Jason.
Thank you.
That now brings us to Mayor and Council reports. Let's start with Councillor Stetsky tonight.
Thank you, and I'll start with the Knights Hall property. I went over and had a look at it the other day. It looks great. So I just want to thank the city staff that oversaw that project and the contractor that delivered on it. CEO Furcho, anything more on that project?
Thank you, Councillor Stetsky. So once the final bills come in, we'll have a little more of an update to council on that. And so as we know, the initial push was to remediate the property to reduce, the friable asbestos hazard and the visual eyesore of that. And we definitely achieved that. So thank you to, Scott Contracting out of Kelowna did a fantastic job. And also to our team on the ground in terms of how the project was managed. So we will provide council with a bigger update once the final numbers come in, but I can say quite clearly and confidently that project has come in significantly under budget. Thanks both to a very effective and efficient contractor, even though, and you'll get that in the bigger update, is there's a number of tunnels that existed. So human-sized concrete tunnels that we didn't even know existed and had been sealed off a very long time ago that created a lot more concrete needing to be dug up and hauled. So by environmental testing, all the materials, a lot of the concrete and the bricks were clean, and they went to our crusher pile to be used for roadbed material. So that wasn't in need of being landfilled, which saved a ton of money. And the cost from the contractor being so effective. So we are going to be quite under budget. And then, the other good news is that now that the property is clean, we are seeing some interest in that land already. And so obviously we do have still the phase 2 environmental to get through at some point. But for now, objective 1 has been achieved.
Always important to recognize good work. And I wouldn't be doing my duty if I didn't mention that on February 28th, Symphony of the Kootenays is hosting their Lights and Magic concert, which features Broadway specials. There'll be local singers and as part of that, and there were about 100 seats left at Key City last week. So if you are interested in coming to the symphony, get your tickets quickly.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Either tonight or at a future council meeting, I wonder if we could have an update from our senior management team just about the BC Builds project and Habitat for Humanity. So that'd be great. Future meeting. Last week on Wednesday, I was pleased to attend a session regarding the upcoming UV disinfection facility. So thanks very much to our management team for all their work on that. It was very informative. And on Thursday, I was pleased to attend a webinar regarding our proposed new DCCs with developers. And of course, the DCC survey closes on January 31st, I believe. And so that's open to the public. So I'd certainly encourage community members to fill out that survey. And we also have our transit survey on currently. So please, folks, fill out that transit survey. And on Saturday, I was pleased to attend a wonderful Robbie Burns event at the Cranbrook History Center at the Royal Alexandra Hall, hosted by the Kimberley Pipe Band. And it was an excellent event, and I was honored to say a few words on behalf of Mayor and Council. So yesterday was the real Robbie Burns Day, but we celebrated a little early on Saturday, and big thank you to the Pipe Band for an excellent event.
Thank you. Councillor Bassett.
Well, thank you. I was asked by someone in the public about what's happening with the lights at Baker and 10th. And I'm not sure if you can comment on that tonight or for the next meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Bassett. So I'll ask for an update on that, where we're at with that one.
Thank you.
Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Mark, it's interesting that you mentioned tunnels because I'm sure anyone who grew up here, there's always been rumors that there's these secret tunnels underneath our community. So maybe you found the proof. Two things. One, I had someone from the community ask about water meters. So they had a water line break, and of course, if you have to do a water line repair, we're asking residents to install a water meter at the same time. No, obviously this comes at a fairly significant cost to the residents. He didn't have exact numbers, but he guesstimated anywhere from like $2,000 to $4,000 added on to the price of his already costly repair. On top of this, I know that the city is looking at funding to install water meters at every residence. Is that correct?
Mayor Price through to Councillor Peabody. So, that'll be a decision of a future council because that'll be a major, unless we're able to secure grant funding, there has been grant funding, unfortunately, targeting communities smaller than Cranbrook for the universal watering metering program. So it would be something that we'd be looking for the support of a council for the cost of the installation of water meters to all residents. However, the structure of how that's repaid and who maybe bought it before potentially then would be not having to pay back. So the cost of the loan in order to put those into everybody's homes, so it'll be in the many millions of dollars, and who pays and how much each pays, I think then would be, those are going to be the points that are going to need to be raised. Is it blanket across the community, or is some exempt that already have it, or how does that work? So I don't have that level of detail available to me right now, but that's an excellent point, and I'll make a note.
Yeah, and that's what I couldn't answer. Was, if he's already paying for his water meter, is he also going to be paying for everyone else's water meter in the future? And is it he's getting kind of hit twice, as opposed to the residents that don't have the issue of a water line breaking between now and when the funding's available. So for right now, everything's staying the same. Residents are on the hook for installing the water meter if the line breaks, but hopefully in the future, when funding comes for the other residences in Cranbrook, there may be a break for those individuals, but that's undetermined at the moment.
Possibly, like I say, that level of detail, maybe staff have already looked after that, but I'm going to raise it tomorrow in our management meeting we have after every council meeting, that just to have the conversation, see where it's at, and if not, inject that into the because it'll be a future initiative of how we go out for that kind of money, and then who pays for it. Similar, so that level of detail, it's an excellent point. Thank you.
Yeah, and then the other point that he had is that if you have a Fortis gas meter installed or a hydro meter installed, it's the utility company that's covering the cost of that because they own the asset. And I wonder if that's similar with a water meter. If it's the city that's owns, I don't know if the city owns the water meter or if the resident owns the water meter, but if the city is requiring the meter to be installed for the resident, should they be covering the cost as opposed to the resident covering the cost? So it's just questions to be asked, and just Yeah. And then a second afterthought that came after the discussion with Trevor. But when we're doing these events like this, I just want to encourage us that we really work on using, local vendors, or at least local-ish vendors as much as possible. And let's just try and keep the money in the community if we can.
Thank you. I just have one question, I guess, just for confirmation on the on the current 14th Avenue line patterns down by, I guess, north of Baker Street there. Is there any intention to reconsider that in the spring?
Mayor Price, so this is still, a contentious discussion point around the installation of active transportation through that area versus, are we ready for it, or the continuation of those? So, I think we'll get to a point with a conversation with council about extending the active transportation routes so they just don't exist and, concentrate in that area. So either they are or they aren't part of that road network through there. And so right now, the active transportation plan, that's a piece of it. And so given the, the conversation and some of the opposition to it, we certainly are having internal dialogue back and forth on the success or lack of success in the implementation so far. And so it's undefined, but we will be having a larger conversation around active transportation and how that fits in the greater scheme of active transportation and where the routes are. So then we can make some decisions. So that will be coming at some point, but on more of a policy level for council.
Thanks very much, Mark. Anything further, council? With that, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Ray, Councillor Bassett, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We are adjourned.